Okay, we are recording. I'm going to admit all. Can everyone just... Well, look at that.
Wow, that is crazy. The number is just going up like...
Well, look at that. Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
Morning.
Hello.
Today...
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Morning, all.
Morning,
Good
afternoon,
afternoon.
evening. Evening. Hello.
Evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Wow.
Good
Look at this.
Oh.
Wait, where were you all during the reading room, huh? Where were you during the reading room when we were actually supposed to read the book? I don't remember seeing all of you there.
I don't remember reading the book.
Neither do I. Book club? Wait, what?
So, welcome everyone. I'm just gonna let people file in. If you do have background music, just do yourself go ahead and mute yourself if you can. What I'd like to do is, hi everyone. Okay, I'm just gonna let people file in here. So today is gonna be a special day. And I'm going to throw the agenda out the window. Because why not? It's our own book club. So first off, what I'd like to do is I'd like to just congratulate everyone. You know, this is a huge achievement. And, you know, the amount of work that we have done in the graph. I mean, in 6 weeks, we wrote 1 million words. Over 1 million words. And yes, like, give yourself a pat on the back. Yes, that's crazy. And I know it takes forever to load the...
Will you fill a form?
I know it takes forever.
Will you fill a form for this?
Do we need to fill out a form? I don't know. But, so congratulations. Thank you to everyone that made it this far. And I've got bad news. I've got bad news. For everyone that's... You know, yes, we made it to day 42, day 43, we're graduating. You're only just starting. This is a lifelong journey. And you and your communication partner, you and your dialogue partner, you and your intellectual autobiography, it's a lifelong journey. And I'm just honored to be part of this journey with you. And so, with all that being said, I kind of want to allow everyone to unmute themselves as I bring our special guest up to the podium. So please, can you just unmute yourself? Let's give Dr. Sonke Ahrens a round of applause. Just unmute yourself.
Hi, Sonke.
Thank you, Sonke.
So, hello, Dr. Ahrens. I'm just gonna go ahead and mute everyone now. And
Eat Oreos at all. Are you sure? Yeah.
and then Dr. Sonke Ahrens, can you unmute yourself just so? Yeah, there we go. So, you have over 247 people. I want to break 250. You have nearly 250 people here, Doctor. And I think what you've done for us by writing that book in 2017 and all the work that you did before that, I mean, it's changing the world. And I think you got to take a little credit for that. And what I'd like to start off with is, I guess for some people that maybe don't know don't know as much about you as others, you know, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, how you started on this journey of bringing Zettelkasten and what Nicholas Luhmann did in the, you know, what he developed to the world? Like, how did that all start? How did that begin?
Sure. I mean, in a way, I always feel a little bit uncomfortable to be put in the spotlight like this. But I'm happy to talk a little bit about the background of the book and how it came together. And I think the most important bit is that Luhmann's theory came first, and he really was one of my academic heroes, and I kind of regret that I never took the chance to go to a lecture before he died. And I was introduced to Luhmann very early in my studies, and I had to give a presentation on a text about the autopoiesis of consciousness, and I was completely out of my depth. But I had the image of myself of being able to give a presentation on a text and to be able to understand it. And it took me the whole semester to get through these 20 pages with another student, and we talked almost on a daily basis. And I think that's a way of learning that you rarely have a chance to do in a highly structured learning environment. And we were more or less just thrown into the water and had to figure it out by ourselves. And it's figuring out the language of sociology, of philosophy, and you go through the references. And in the end, it wasn't certainly a perfect presentation, but it was obvious that we were so into it that the enthusiasm of it really came through. And that was a thrill. Just go through the process of having a completely incomprehensible text and being able to speak about it in the end. And Luhmann never left me as someone I kept coming back to reading his text. A friend of mine I talked to on a regular basis about Luhmann, he said he just needs to read Luhmann once in a while just to remind himself of how thinking goes. And so there are a lot of good memories of insights and more than just insight connected to it. So his main work, the last big 2-volume book, Society of Society, I read on a holiday in Greece, and I never left really the terrace where I was sitting, and the lovely old lady who was my host brought me coffee in the morning, and after 3 days she said, well, I have the feeling you're just sitting here and reading, so what about I go to the beach? If someone pops by, you rent the flat out, this one is such and such euros, and so that was our deal.
Here's a question for you. Why? I feel like you're like, I'm enamored by Nicholas Luhmann. Why do you think he didn't take the extra step of really carrying that message to the world? Because I mean, obviously, his theory that he developed was phenomenal. I mean, it was affecting everyone around him. What do you think stopped him or prevented him from actually taking this and bringing this to the world in a more, broadly speaking, global way?
You mean the technique of working with the Zettelkasten.
Yeah.
So, in a way, it was an open secret. People knew that he had this work,
It was an open secret.
and if someone asked, he showed it to them, but and he wrote a little piece on it, but not that much actually. And one of the reasons to write the book was that I discovered it as a technique that could work for myself. And I had very, very little information at that time on how it actually worked. So I tinkered around with it and tried to gather the few bits together. And then I wrote a first draft of the book and put it in the drawer because I didn't feel I really grasped the concept of it, and took it out a few years later and completely revised it. First of all, because my understanding has developed. I had some years of experience with different tools. Some more information were coming through, especially now with the research project. I know you're aware of it from his University of Bielefeld. So that is, of course, everything just after his death. And and as it always happens, sometimes you read something about something completely different, but suddenly it falls into place. And the feeling of there is something that is worth telling becomes something you need to write down, because now you feel people you talk about kind of understand it, but you feel there is more importance to it. And I think that's the motivation to then actually do it. And
here's a question.
Yeah.
I think with anything that, when you do anything that's difficult, when you do anything that's important, there is a struggle. And my question is, as you were throughout your journey of sort of, how to take smart notes and your journey of, telling the world about this, I guess it's a two-part question. The first part is, what sort of difficulty have you had teaching people this bottom up, I say bottom up, but you know what I'm talking about, this sort of emergent way of thinking and note taking? And then also the second part would be, what sort of critical feedback have you gotten from, I would say, other people in, that are heavily, in the sort of Zettelkasten field or sphere?
I think there isn't much in terms of disagreements or heated discussions. I don't experience that at all. I feel most of the people I speak to understand themselves, me included, as learning about it, because you have to adjust the system to the new tools that are coming into the market. Other people have a different grasp. You can learn from them. So your needs develop. So I feel everyone is more in an understanding that it's a collaboration. There are certain core principles about it that are worth writing down. But I don't see much of a discussion you usually have in academia, like that's completely wrong, and Luhmann actually did it completely different. And I think that's very nice about it, and it's also, it would be a bit silly. And you have the actual Zettelkasten Luhmanns now almost fully digitalized. So there is a way to kind of go to the source and trying to understand. I think the problem with teaching is more that there is an indifference, especially with younger students. And it's just my experience that the longer you have struggled with writing and the more complex the ideas you're dealing with, and the more resources you have to shuffle, the more obvious it becomes that the way we are taught, usually to take notes in school and university, has its limitations.
And can you expound upon that a little bit? Like, what, to be specific, how would you define that or describe that, the sort of how we're taught has certain limitations?
Well, I think one motivation of writing things down for me is always that I'm angry about something, and not being able to give my own students a good book on note-taking or writing in general, and it became a little obsession because I started to rent out all the books I found on note-taking and writing in academia, and I saw the difficulties of bringing the idea of linearity together with the actual writing I experienced, and so I felt this is just wrong. So people teach in a way, I don't believe they work themselves like that. So you have all these highly structured methods where you have to make a plan, and you start with brainstorming, and you read it in the book. So I had to cut at least 12 pages of rambling on these horrible...
I've seen the videos, yes. SQ4R and all this, yeah.
So a good thing is that my editor took them all out, because otherwise it's unreadable. But I think you often start, or at least I often start, with writing something down because I'm a little bit angry about that, and then you try to turn it around and describe it in a positive way, not how not to do it, but rather how to do it. And it was accompanied by my own research on science and technology studies, so how research is actually conducted compared to how researchers describe their process, and that always fascinated me. So I saw a parallel between the disconnect between how research is described ideally and how it's actually conducted, to the way teaching is taught and how it's actually done. So that's probably the short story of my motivation. And You can tell the story certainly in a different way, and that would be I was meant to finally write my second big book and continue with my dissertation, and I was stuck, so I needed a side project to distract myself from it. And I remember this old manuscript in the drawer. That would be the less heroic story of it, just a way of procrastinating.
Imagine if that book would have stayed in that drawer. Oh, the world,
I think,
you know? Yeah.
Schmidt from the research on Luma Zettelkasten, he published at the same time, so I think it's someone else. I mean, people started to write about that anyway, and I think like Connor as well mentioned that it's sometimes it's like an idea that has its time, and in different fields people put words to it, and I think with the change in technology also becomes obvious that we need a different way of describing how we write, because our old vocabulary is very much still bound to the linearity of book writing, and that certainly has changed. So it's, I think, an idea that fits into our time. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I just wanted to start off with just sort of the history and a little bit more about you. I feel like a lot of times when people have you on calls or interview you, it's always like, tell me how to do it, tell me how to do it, tell me how to do it. And it's just like, you know, I want to know more about what this is about. Yes, I love it. You're drinking a beer, you know, you're hanging out. It's like, this is the Dr. Ahrens that I wanted to sort of show the group. And, you know, where do you think, obviously it caught on. Obviously, you know, there was a moment in time and people picked up this book and it resonated with the world. So my question, I guess, is really geared towards, you know, how does technology play into this now? As, you know, as what we're doing in the Rome Book Club and you know, what Connor developed with Rome Research, and with everyone sort of moving into the sort of cloud communities of Web 3.0 or whatever that means. But where do you see technology taking this simple, you know, note-taking system? Like, what does the future look like in your eyes, in your vision?
I have no idea about the future, and I think there are others here much more hands-on and close to the development. But I really wished I had some of the tools available today, 10, 20 years ago. And I mean, in a silly way, I thought maybe by writing it down, people will pick it up and write some software that that I want. But of course, things work slightly different. But I think we are all students of the development of technology, and we can only see that far. I can imagine that there is a lot of differentiation going on soon. So because there are different needs, and when I talk to people from different backgrounds and professions, it becomes more and more obvious to me that you might need some kind of pre-structured either templates you can add on openly structured software, or specific software that is in principle in bottom-up open way designed, but
Rome Research.
Gives you a lot of help with some pre-configurations, so the learning curve shortens a little bit. And especially in medicine, I see a huge demand. And I don't know how AI plays a role there. I think there is a lot of disillusionment going on at the moment. So it might go back a little bit more to personal databases where you have more control over what kind of information you put in, take out. But I mean, that's just speculation. But my speculation is that there will be differentiation going on, and yeah.
Perfect. So what I'd like to do now is, I guess, jump over into, I
notice a lot of popping up.
Yeah, I actually have a page on the shared graph. I'm just going to go in and share the screen real quick. I asked the graduates of Rome Book Club here to sort of just come up with questions that they had for you, and I've got a couple here. I guess I'll just start from the top, and Alan asks, well, first off, thank you for your time. Do you have any idea when you wrote your book that it would turn into a cultural phenomenon? It has, with new tools now available that Lumen did not have. Have you given any thought to writing another book and adapting the Zettelkasten framework to a tool like Rome, for instance?
I need to read the second question. So, I mean, you always, I think, have the idea that when you put the effort into writing a book, that you hope that other people will understand what you're enthusiastic about. And it's always a good indication when you feel like you want to talk about it with people. And I had the same with my dissertation, but that didn't pick up in the same way. And I knew that this is that might be different, but no, of course you don't connect it that much with your own book. It's more about that you see the idea, and the idea is Luhmann's idea, and you're trying to describe it as good as possible, but the cultural phenomenon is obviously not the messenger. The cultural phenomenon is the Zettelkasten, and then what people make out of it. And there is a fear, I think, because that's the way I'm structured. I have to deal much more with anxiety about the things I do and the worries I have. And one of the big worries is that it's adding fuel to this academic craze of publishing more and more. And I hoped it to be more like a Trojan horse, that it might attract people because it is a tool for productivity. But I think it's a technology that forces you to engage more deeply with the text you're reading. And it's a technology that helps with mitigating the effects of confirmation bias. And that was my hope, that the technology is being picked upon because of the attractiveness of productivity, but that the main effect is not adding to this craze of we have to publish more and more, but actually taking a little bit out of the quantitative side and putting more into the qualitative side. So that's more the the hope and the worry at the same
That's
time.
interesting, because a lot of times, you know, it's also, yes, creating more, but also over consuming too, like just consuming without actually digesting as well of the
Yeah.
prolific amount of information that's we're being inundated with. I think it's very interesting.
I
Let's
mean,
go to the okay.
maybe just adding to that, because the way I work, I'm of course super excited and thankful about that people pick up on the ideas, but I'm always primarily worried that it's having unintentional side effects. And one potential unintentional side effect could be that people put pressure on themselves too much, and thinking, oh gosh, now I have to, I've written, always have a pen in your hand, and now nobody is reading anymore for fun. And gosh, I hope readers are relaxed with it. So I'm putting a revised edition out soon, with not many differences, few corrections of silly mistakes, but maybe also with a little bit more emphasis on don't put too much pressure on making it right, or
Perfect.
everything
Yeah.
into a productive setting, because the fun in thinking is spending time with your thoughts and the thoughts of others, and sometimes it needs just being there with a book and not having a pen in your hand and going for a walk and all these bits. So it's in my nature to worry about these things, but it's also part of the feedback that I notice that the community can put pressure on each other of doing it right, and instead of letting it evolve and adjusting it to your needs and keeping the eye on what's really important, and that is the content and the thinking and what you want to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's oof, you hit the nail on the head. Have fun with it. It's not about being perfect. So Michael Walsh asks, thank you, Dr. Ahrens, for speaking with us. Here's a few questions I'm interested in. How many permanent notes did it take before you felt you had a communication partner? On average, how long has it taken the students who adopt the Zettelkasten system to see benefits? Can it be done within a semester? And then what form of your
Yes.
let me go ahead and mute them. Okay. What form do your permanent notes take? For example, do you try to coalesce the note into a single sentence, or do your permanent notes extend to multiple sentences or even paragraphs? And Mike continues with, do you ever revise a permanent note, or do you add a new permanent note with your changes? And how would you describe how you are using Rome research for your Zettelkasten?
I can't spend as much time on each of these questions like on the first one. I think there are more coming. So I don't know exactly, because especially in the beginning, I changed the medium, and I started with pen and paper, then I tinkered with HTML, and then I went back to paper in a different format. But I think the first couple of hundred notes are more like a collection, and you look for connections, and there are some, but you remember them because it's still the amount where it doesn't surprise you. It's more you know where they are. And I think that from 500 on, there's a shift. And then you need to figure out how to find them again. So the index or some kind of system becomes more important. And I think a couple of thousand nodes and you're automatically turning to your Zettelkasten as the place where you will likely find some kind of connection. And can you go back to the chat screen, because then I can just walk through the questions. How long does it take? I think it's very different for, I don't push it when I teach at university. It's more like an offer. I think some people grasp the idea immediately and often already had experience of working in their improvised ways and feeling they're wasting a lot of resources. So I feel they don't need much to be convinced. And then it's a constant learning process. So I think I keep adopting the way I work, and I will probably still keep adopting the ways I work. And that's maybe a second bit, that it's not so much about finding the right way to do it, but it's more taking signals when you feel something is not right, or you're spending too much time on literature notes. Then it's a feedback from the system to change it a little bit and maybe take shorter notes, or to sometimes jump directly into taking a permanent note, or be more selective with your literature. And if you feel you struggle with finding your way back to the resources, maybe that's just an indication that you be more diligent with writing down where the ideas came from. So I think of it more as an ongoing process. But I think the moment where you take for granted that you have your dialogue partner sitting there, that doesn't take that long. I mean, when you think about what would you do instead,
you can't go back.
no, that's, I mean, yeah, put it in a folder.
Oh, he said the F word. So Dr. Ahrens, what I'd like to do now is, so there's a lot of Rome Book Club 4 graduates and Rome Book Club 3 alumni that are joining us today. And what I want to do is, I don't, I would say we have another 20 minutes or so here. What I'd like to do is I'd like to just allow people that, are graduating today from Rome Book Club, and the alumni as well, to sort of take the floor. And I'm just going to go and stop, or I'm going to take myself off of...
there are a lot of questions.
Yeah, so I'm just going to let them sort of pose it to you as they like. So again, if you're a Rome Book Club 3 alumni, or if you're a Rome Book Club 4 graduate today, if you want to just unmute yourself. And again, we are a representation of, our community. So, kindness, yielding, and graciousness is, that's who we are. So if you want to just unmute yourself, we've got another about 20 minutes. If you have like a specific question that you'd like to ask Dr. Sonke Ahrens.
Dr. Ahrens, thanks so much for doing this, for your time. Engaging with your book and doing it in this community has been a blessing. And so I appreciate that you brought this to the world. I think the one question that I had is, we focused a lot on the building of the system, creation of, going from fleeting note to permanent note. And the question that I had written in the graph there is, there's a little bit of a part that's kind of missing for me up front, which is if you're reading a piece of new material And maybe there are ideas in it that you're being introduced to for the first time. You're not necessarily triggering the fleeting thoughts or what have you, but it's interesting. You don't want to lose track of it. It's something that you want to make sure is captured so that perhaps when you have more information, context, knowledge later, you can come back to it and understand it. And so I don't want to do the book report summary thing, but I want to make sure I'm not missing these tidbits I'm pulling out as I'm reading. How do you generally approach that?
I see it as there are circles you have to add to the process. So when I'm new to a topic, I wouldn't be able to write immediately down the core ideas of the book because I can't identify them. Exactly as you mentioned it, you need more context, and that means you, in this case, I put another loop into it, and that might be that I just use post-it notes in the book to because I will go through it again later, and then after you read the book, you kind of know, okay, you put post-it or underline it or highlight it, whatever you want to do. The same idea on the first 20 pages again and again and again, because it's like the main idea of the book, but he will go on in details about it later. So if you had started right away writing it down, you would have listed the same idea again and again in variation. And now with a little bit more context and distance, well, you write it once and you have a little bit structure in your head, just as you described it. So I think it's about adjusting the time and effort to the kind of book you're dealing with, and sometimes you need a lot of effort into, and you need to go through it twice. And sometimes you don't need a literature note at all, because you immediately see, okay, that's this kind of argument, and you can add it directly into your permanent notes. You keep the reference, but no need to go through these steps. You only put the effort that is required, and sometimes it's little and sometimes it's a lot.
I guess that's the art and the science. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
Dr. Ahrens, welcome. I have a question for you about blending physical handwritten note cards with the Roam format. I find the physical constraint of the note card space forces clarity, and I was wondering if you personally get this functionality out of Roam. Thank you.
Thank you, Bidisha. Is it correctly?
Yes.
Well, I see from your background that you have an attachment to physical notes, and I hope it answers your question, but I do like to write some things with pen and paper, especially literature notes or fleeting notes, or project notes, where I try to outline something, where I want to shuffle things around. I use a whiteboard, and I use physical notes a lot, but they usually don't end up in the system. They are usually chucked after a while. The difference is that when I am in the middle of a project, that I take photographs of my whiteboard, because it's like the snapshot of the structure I'm trying to figure out. And this will end up in Roam just as a snapshot, because then I can track, okay, on that day I thought about it in this way, and but not in the permanent note section. So the permanent notes are digital notes only. Is this your question, or am I missing it completely?
I was following you until the very last thing you said. You said it doesn't end up in the permanent notes section because you take the fleeting and literature notes on paper, and then you might just write a sentence or two in Rome for your permanent notes.
Yeah, because it's either project notes, fleeting notes, or maybe literature notes. So literature notes are sometimes, especially when the topic is new to me, I write them by hand. I find that helpful, but when I write permanent notes, I'm always in the context of other digital notes. So I barely write completely new permanent notes. Almost all permanent notes I write are direct replies, so to speak, to already existing notes. And so I stay within the same medium, and I feel it's important to be yeah, to stay in the same medium.
Thank you.
Dr. Aaron, hi.
Hi.
Huge fan of your work. Thank you so much. It made a huge difference for me personally. So one of the key points that Bo Han's coaching is slow down, go deeper, right? So I'm looking at your library behind you. There's hundreds of books. There's probably Google Scholar that you read. There's probably book recommendations that your friends give it to you. What kind of metacognition or criteria do you use to discern what you take in as someone who actually wrote the book of How to Write Smart Notes?
Oh, that's a big question, and so I wish I had prepared for that, and so I can only give you a very general answer now, and that is, I think there are discipline-specific models I use, and patterns I'm sometimes not very aware of, but sometimes I think strategies which are very familiar to you, like looking for the inverted argument and trying to see it from a different side. It really depends on the level of familiarity with a topic, because getting familiar with a topic means also getting familiar with the patterns you're looking for. So something I'm very familiar with, yeah, you try to look for the frames of the author. What I don't really do is having a checklist, like going through possible biases. I don't feel that's very helpful. I think it's important to keep them in mind, but I think it's more about detecting, okay, what kind of question is the author trying to answer here. I'm not sure really if that's an answer to your question, but I don't have a catalog of metacognitive strategies I consciously apply. And I think it would also go a little bit against the idea of trying to give the text you're reading the opportunity to tell you something new and something you have not expected. So I'm wary a little bit of having fixed categories to look through text, because it might turn every text into something that is already fitting your categories instead of expanding them or adding to them. Yeah, but I think it would be worth listing what we unconsciously apply to text just to be aware of it.
So, Dr. Ahrens, well, I'd like to we have like about another 10 minutes here. And what I'd like to do is, I want to highlight also the work that people are doing in this shared graph and the work, the slowing down, the thinking, the writing that everyone is doing. So, what I'd like to do now is I'd like for you, Dr. Ahrens, to ask the group, the graduating class, any questions that you may have of their experience of learning about how to take smart notes, learning about Zettelkasten, learning about Nicholas Luhmann, learning about you, and also what they've learned from slowing things down and really digesting what they're doing. So I'm just gonna let you ask questions to the group and allow the graduates to sort of respond back.
Yeah, I think, there are so many questions I would be interested in, but maybe one of the more important questions is, what are the things you find genuinely new in the book? And what are the things you find rather, which didn't surprise you, which could have been left out? And what are you missing? So is there something you learned here or learned in the community where you would say, well, this is such an important bit of information or experience. I wish I would have learned that when I read the book.
Can I just, I suppose I'm not sure I'm going to have huge amounts to add, but I just want to sort of, I want to say thank you first of all. I came to your book first, and then I came to Rome, and then I came to Rome Book Club. So I've kind of done things in the wrong order, but it's been absolutely the right order for me. It's interesting you say about sort of what did you know and what did you learn. And what I found fascinating about your book is I kind of learned what I already knew. So literally, like the first few paragraphs just blew me away, because it's like, this is literally what's been going on in my mind, and it's now just been expressed to me in words that I can read in front of me. So it was quite profound for me in terms of getting me to that point. In terms of what didn't I know, what could I gain from it, I'm desperately trying to get everybody else on board. So I'm an academic, I'm a clinician as well, but I'm an academic, and it has literally blown my mind about in terms of how I think, how I work. It's been really, and I'm just trying to work out how to bring everybody else on as well. And apart from just trying to get them to read the book or summarizing it, I'm struggling to do that. So any tips on that would be very much appreciated, because it really has changed the way I think about my work in a really positive way. So thank you.
Thank you, Yvette.
I guess what Yvette said about the book being a lot of useful and necessary information, there was a lot of part of that, but a lot of part of it was very much something that, oh, I know these things, I read them, but I never found them in this stream. I never found this narrative that actually makes so much sense. Almost like finding a stream of notes that tell you something and talk to you in a way that you didn't expect. So I feel like asking things that maybe people already knew is a dangerous question, because maybe we know one thing, but putting them side by side like you did in the book, it just gave lots of space and lots of moment to think. So for that, thank you. Like, it was needed to give it that stream of narrative. But in terms of things that I think it's I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's like sometimes I think a lot is the change of landscape of the use of the initial system in terms of volume and quality of information there is surrounding us, which brings us maybe with different challenges, such as having multiple sources that tell the same thing and sometimes they say in a contrasting way, which sometimes I find doing my personal readings, I'm happy to have different notes that say contrasting things, and when they come together, I can deal with it and then trying to understand why they're conflicting and to what extent. But when I'm doing my PhD, for example, perhaps because of the I don't know, the pressing deadlines or the weekly meetings with my supervisor, I'm more concerned into resolving that conflict between multiple sources in one moment. And for me, is more, for this specific case, is more a case of not wanting to have to repeat that conversation multiple times. I just want to bring those 5 authors and be like, 3 were right for this reason, 2 were right for this reason. I'm going to say this because this is my problem. And I just want to have one note sometime because it's something very specific.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter. I mean, the observation that sometimes it's not the actual information bit, but putting it in a combined order, that this is what it's all about, and that often makes a difference between, yeah, you understand it and you really understand it. And so maybe that's a good reminder that when we write, it's not so much about new information, and don't have to be too worried about not having the new information, but about making this difference to really understanding it as something that is significant or makes a difference. And I think in terms of your PhD development, what helped me, or keeps helping me, is to remind myself that writing a paper, writing a PhD is not the end of the conversation you're having with the authors. It's a snapshot of the current state of understanding. And I mean, we know that, but I need to remind myself of that once in a while. And maybe that even means to put these 5 authors together and move on.
I'd like to hear, or yes, yeah, I just want to make sure that we can highlight people that don't usually speak up, and also offer this platform for people that, you know, maybe are a little scared to ask a question. So I just wanted to open up. So if you haven't asked a question, if you haven't participated, really just, you know, if you want to have this time with Dr. Ahrens to, you know, answer his question, I want to also leave it up to people that don't usually speak out and don't usually talk so much.
No, they also have to out themselves as not being.
That's what I'm allowing for. I've read all their work, Dr. Ahrens, so I know who they are. I know who the quiet ones are.
If nobody is daring to speak,
thank you.
I would ask something, because like I totally get what Yvette was saying. Like, you read that book and you finally, like, you see in front of your eyes what I've been struggling all of my academic way with, how I think and how I write. But then, like, you explain how to do it, and you explain it well, in my opinion. But it seems so easy when you're reading it, that for someone who is working in the academic field, you're like, this can't be it. And then you, even if you try, you need, like, somehow, like, for example, this community where you're guided through it and you're getting your butt kicked over and over and over until you're like, okay, I have to do it like this and it will work. Because the book, it's like so easy and you're like, this can't be it. This is how I felt. But it's written, everything is in there, in my opinion. So that's like a little point of, how to say, perhaps tell people, listen, it sounds very easy, but you have to do it. And right. It's hard in the beginning. And you're like, this is so easy, but still hard because you have to continue. Don't give up.
Yeah. I mean, you touching an important point because it's a lot about unlearning, and that is sometimes more difficult.
Yes.
And it's probably one of these simple but not easy things. But when you're in an environment where everything is set up for modular learning and you develop your own workflow, which is not compatible with that, I think it does make things more difficult, as if you're a completely independent researcher, not under the pressure of having deadlines or a curriculum, where it kind of clashes, because the Zettelkasten is completely agnostic to deadlines or to plans, and it might bring you to a place which is not in the application you have written. So of course there are potential conflicts.
But this is the only thing, like a fair warning to everybody who's reading the book. It seems easy, it is easy, but you have to stick to it. This is it, it's working. So thank you very much.
And it's different to different disciplines, certainly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, Dr. Ahrens, this is Alan from Las Vegas. I will say probably the biggest thing that I learned, not coming from the research side. So I am, a network engineer by day, and that's kind of the space that I work in. Moving from a foldered structure to this type of structure was kind of jarring at first. But what I learned is that, two things. One, you have to be willing to put the work in, right? You have to give yourself time to kind of change your thinking. And then the biggest thing is the results. What's helping me with my coworkers is the results that I'm getting from implementing the system, because I'm able to do things in a way that they can't. So I would say that it's been just absolutely tremendous. Thank you so much for doing what you've done. And thanks to Bo for putting all this together, because it's helped me to think about things completely different in a way that I never would have without the system and without your translation.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. And I think the community does a lot of work there, doesn't it?
Yes. Dr. Ahrens, I do want to say we are at 1 hour. I mean, I'm willing to stay on and just have open discussion with you as long as you have the time. But it's, again, I do want to mention that it is what, 10:30 your time? So
yeah, I mean, I'm happy to have more questions. Maybe, I don't know, half an hour.
I'll do this then. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and open it up for everyone. Just anyone that's here. Again, just please be respectful and yield when you need to. We have, you could always email Dr. Ahrens as well, but let's keep it respectful. And yeah, I don't want to call on people. If you want to just unmute yourself and just ask your question, you kind of have to.
I'll jump in and ask one, Bo.
Please.
I know that Bo and you have spoken before about creativity and whether this is for creatives, and at first maybe you thought it wasn't. And so I've had that conversation with Bo. I'm a painter and art teacher, and a lot of what you're talking about with academics having trouble coming around to this way of thinking reminds me of the conflict between art critics and artists, and that the art critics talk in a way that the artists don't really recognize. And I was wondering where you are in terms of thinking about how this could work for creatives at this point.
Yeah, I think Bo can give you more insight into that. I don't think I'm qualified to, but except maybe that I feel writing in itself has a creative side of it, and when I talk with a friend who is a composer, we find similarities, and especially in the need for structure and restrictions as a precondition for creativity. And beyond that, I don't feel I should.
I don't think you should say you're not qualified. I think it's more a question of, this is Brian from Omaha, Nebraska, by the way, Dr. Ahrens. I got a sense of your inner voice in the book. And I think I got the same thing from being in this book club. What was important to me was that people can really speak with their inner voice. And it's even the way that you bring in statistics and like more classical research techniques, like, 60% of people found that, they have an attention span of this or whatever. And then you would kind of say, yeah, and that's interesting, and then you'd hit us with the real point. So I just wanted to say thanks for really just sharing your inner voice, and thanks to all the book club members too, for doing that, because I think that's what makes good knowledge discovery and good research and good insights, is really finding your inner voice through all of this. So thanks.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Hey, I had a question. Might not be completely related, but one of the things that I struggle with using systems thinking and knowledge management tools, and I'm completely obsessed with it, is that I kind of have a tendency to be a little overemphasized on the right brain analytical thinking. And I'm really hoping to find ways of leveraging these kind of tools to kind of free up more of my left brain creative thinking. And I would love to hear, is this something that you struggled with as well? And have you found any solutions or anything that you could recommend to someone wanting to be able to, yes, love the analytical thing, but also want to make sure that I'm able to be a little bit more brain balanced?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. I don't think in terms of left-right brain hemisphere for myself, but and I think the similar struggles I have are maybe less because of the analytical emphasis, but more about anxiety of doing it right or wrong. And maybe it's translatable, but I think that tools like Rome with the daily page can give you this playground where you know that you don't have to worry about mistakes. And if that's too close to the final writing, I think the change in the medium and using pen and paper or whiteboard or a flip chart or whatever you have helps me to get into a more creative mood. And sometimes it's just this silly thing that I know that in the evening, I'm much more able to come up with new ideas. And in the morning, I'm much better in detecting all the mistakes from the day before and trying to kind of work around that. And so I'm not sure if that's helpful, but I think if you have something similar, it's probably a good idea to integrate it into the workflow and the rhythm. And I think being analytical can also be highly creative. And often when I really understand something, I feel it triggers new ideas. And so I'm not trying to get away from the analytical side, but more like diving more into it. So you get to the boundaries of where logic kind of reaches the end point and something happens unexpectedly.
Hi,
Dr. Ahrens.
Thank you, Sonke.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
I'm committed to the Zettelkasten, and I love it. And it's a tool. It's a tool for thinking. But, hello.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So, but what the thing that I sometimes think about is that Nicholas Luhmann is a sample of one, and if the Zettelkasten is a tool for thinking, there are all these other thinkers out there who are thinking. And do we know how they're thinking? How what note systems are they using? I'd like to be able to place Luhmann amongst all these others, and sort of in the Zettelkasten and see what others are doing as well. And yeah.
I mean, if there was one project I would have loved to do is going around asking everyone whose work I admire, how do you do it? How do you do it exactly? What do you do in the morning? How do you sit down? How do you digest the books you're reading? I was obsessed with the idea, and it's just because I'm too shy to follow up on that. But my way of understanding is not by comparing a lot of different workflows because of the lack of data, but more about the going through abstraction and respecification. So I think I became interested in Zettelkasten also because I saw a lot of similarities to what historians of science describe as experimental work in laboratories. And that is, especially in the field of science and technology studies, especially the work of Hans-Jörg Reinberger. He works for the Max Planck Institute for History of Science in Berlin. And the way he describes experimental work as a form of material deconstruction is my blueprint for understanding the work of Luhmann with its Zettelkasten. So in a way, by going through abstraction and respecification, I allowed myself to see it as an example of something more general.
And it would be fantastic to see others, to find that in others and see them doing the same thing, and then to start to build a really general sort of flexible theory of the whole thing.
Wow.
So you're not by any chance applying for a grant at the moment, because then it would be very interesting and see the outcome of that work.
Dr. Ahrens, with all this, do you think we can improve thinking? That's what you seem to be trying to do, but I'm thinking, can we produce more thinkers of like Turing, Feynman, von Neumann? With this approach plus others, do you think we have the potential to produce thinkers of that status?
I have no idea. I do think that technology helps because it is an external feature of our thinking, and the external features are open to design, while the internal structure of our thinking, I think, has little room for improvement. But by adding technology to it and being aware of the external part of our thinking, I believe technology can play a role in improving thoughts and research in the way it already does. And for example, in little things like providing evidence of counterfacts or disagreements just by pointing them out to you and being able to see what's missing. Just the process of deliberately externalizing thoughts, I think, improves the thinking process. I don't believe in internal tools and modification too much. So like being aware of biases is good, but I think I'm more on the pessimistic side like Kahneman, that just being aware of it doesn't mean you're not free from, yeah.
So augmentation.
Yeah, maybe that's a good way of putting it, yeah.
This is George. Have you found that there are people who are natural thinkers like this, the Zettelkasten type thinking, the bottom-up thinking, whatever you want to call it? Have you studied great thinkers and looked at their patterns and seen that they do that, or is it all over the place?
I'm not an expert on, I know what I like in terms of works. I think there are similarities between the thinkers I read, and I believe they're often systematic and have found a way to deal with complexity, to be able to put heterogeneous ideas, different ideas, into a coherent theory system. And I think the only way to do that is by having some kind of external brain or an equivalent of it. In which way, I don't know. But I think without this externalizing, it wouldn't be possible to have this kind of thinking I'm attracted to. But I wouldn't say that's necessarily the better.
They all had a system, though. They all had, you know, I've been studying the world's greatest thinkers from Aristotle to Richard Feynman and beyond, and I have never found one that does not explicitly talk about epistemology, about how they get their knowledge, that doesn't have a system, and that doesn't think bottom up. I never found one. Da Vinci, Feynman, Galileo, all of the great thinkers, they all think in very similar patterns.
That's interesting. Have you written about it?
I'm developing a system called Mind Skills that tries to systematize these. They are, needless to say, very complicated to systematize, and Rome is giving me a tremendous tool for doing so. But I'm writing about them piecemeal and slowly. But I'm struck by I've gotten to interview a lot of geniuses, productive geniuses, not just knowledge accumulators, but people actually did something with their knowledge, not just memorizers. And they all do this. They all, some variant of coming from the concretes, distilling the essentials, talking in fundamentals. Elon Musk talks about thinking in first principles, but all of them think about thinking quite explicitly, their own thinking. It's shocking.
Okay, keep us posted about your work.
I'd love to know if you, and if you discover anything more, love to know more about it.
Okay,
Doctor,
thank you, George. Yeah, that's interesting.
Dr. Ahrens.
Congratulations for your your wonderful work in this. It's really magnificent. I kind of get an idea of what you've been through, and we really, really appreciate it.
I know Shimon has been waiting here.
Yeah.
And then Julie, I see you too.
Question.
Julie, you're breaking up a little bit. Do you want to, Julie? Do you want to log out and log back in, and then I'll make sure that you're next. But Shimon.
Dr. Ahrens, thank you so much for your this presentation and for the book. Now that we have a way to build a Zettelkasten in a digital realm, I wonder if you have any thoughts about, you know, having these Zettelkastens be shared, by people being able to go into the process and see how a certain person got to where they got in their thought, and then B, can people collaborate and share one Zettelkasten? And what are your thoughts just on these kinds of what technology is bringing on that realm?
Right. I mean, that's a huge question, and I think Matt, who's joining us today, can tell you way more about that. And Bo has now a recurring experience with collaboration. There are other places where this is being tried out. So I've spoken to teams with very different professional backgrounds, and I feel everyone is just starting. And there is the need for having some kind of templates, structure, conventions. There is, I think, a necessity to have like a firewall between your personal writing and the collaborative bit. And I don't think it can synthesize or merge into each other. I think the difference is necessary, but that's more like a hunch. And I think that's one of the exciting experimental lines where no one really fully understands how this could work out. And I mean, Matt can certainly tell you more about that, because as far as I understand, Rome is heading in that direction. Yeah, but that's from my side. Shimon.
Thank you. That's awesome.
And then Julie.
I can ask Julie's question. She dropped it in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So Julie's question is, so she's in the woods, so she has bad connection right now. Her question is, how do you deal with questions in your Zettelkasten? Where do you put them? How do you integrate them, track them?
Well, I write them down, and I integrate them into my notes. And maybe I need to explain that I changed the way I write in Rome a little bit, because I use the blocks as individual notes, so that a page can become what in the traditional Zettelkasten might be a note sequence. And if two notes are directly related, I might just add another block, because you still have the granularity with the block references. So a question would become part of that note sequence. And they are just a part of the writing itself. So I don't have a special question page. I have a lot of questions within the ongoing dialogues, and sometimes there are the ones that turn into a project, and so they are on top of my mind, and they might move into the shortcut section, because I just want to jump right back into that the next day. But there is no sophisticated system to deal with questions. They are just part of it.
Dr. Ahrens, thank you so much for doing this. It's I've gotten a lot of value from your books and writing. So I'm actually a student, and I just graduated from high school. So I'm really curious how you think about integrating Zettelkasten in the education system. And I think a lot of the incentives, like with grades and the deadlines, like you mentioned, are kind of not as conducive to the kind of deep thinking that is required. So do you think that it's possible to integrate the two, and how do you do it in your classroom? If you could talk a bit more about that, and like how you think it could be taught to high schoolers and college students.
First of all, in the chat, someone mentioned Joel Chan. He is probably the one who has better ideas about how to deal with questions. Sana, well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not pushing the Zettelkasten in my own teaching, but I think that I integrate the ideas of the Zettelkasten and the idea of non-linearity and open process as much as possible in the way I structure my classes and my lectures. And I try to be as transparent as possible, that I will jump ahead and come back to a question, because this goes often against the expectations, and so the students don't become frustrated when I jump ahead. I try to explain with referring the studies on learning, how this can be intentional. But I have not found a way to make young students aware of what they're facing when they are 2-3 years in the courses, and why it makes sense to start with it early, to have more tools and resources available later. I'm not very successful in that. I'm much better with older students or postgraduates who already have a feeling for the need.
That's my goal, by the way. I want to start them young.
Okay, that's bold.
Get them engaged. Get them engaged with this way of thinking. You know, that way, yeah. We'll keep going.
Hey, Dr. Ahrens. I have two questions. I'm not sure which one I should ask, but maybe I'll start with this one. Okay, it's a little bit of a tricky question, so I'm sorry if I put you on the spot, but I can't help but keep coming back to the idea, like what we're doing here is kind of incredible. As somebody's saying, it's like, you know, like a new Roman Forum. It's like a new commons for people with good faith to be able to learn from each other and contribute. And I can't help but see that in contrast to the fact like all of this is built on top of like a private venture-backed company. And maybe it's just me, but there's just like, there's something weird about all of this commons being built on top of a private company. So I'm curious, like, how you think about that and how you think about that intersection between, private venture capital money and
I totally get that. I would be much more happy if all the tools which are well designed and working for the Zettelkasten idea were open source, and but they are not. I don't have much of an opinion on that. I think I feel in academia I would like an open source alternative where you have a public funding of sorts, but I've chosen Rome for myself because I think it works perfectly for my needs, and quite comfortable with that. And yeah, so the principles of the Zettelkasten itself, I mean, they are adaptable to different tools. So I feel as long as the programs are designed in a way that you're not completely trapped in the infrastructure, and there is healthy competition, where you have the ability to migrate. I think competition is good, and of course, private structures have their advantages of being able to focus on development, pushing things forward. You don't necessarily have with a more open source software. So I fully understand the questions. I'm relatively tool agnostic, or I'm trying to stay as tool agnostic as possible. I don't want to bound the Zettelkasten to a particular tool, while I do see that some are more fitting to it than others. And the lack of friction and the granularity are certainly important features of that, but they are not exclusive for a certain tool. Yeah.
So
but it's a discussion worth, or it's a question worth discussing, I think. Yeah.
So we have two more people with their hands up, and then after that, we'll close this out. But Bart and then Russell.
Dr. Ahrens, hello. So one thing I think is wonderful. One thing I think is wonderful about the digital Zettelkasten is we can write as much as we want, right? There's no limitation for space. And in Rome, that's even better because it's at the block level and we can collapse things, hide things, and we don't have to throw anything away. But as far as we know, Luhmann did throw his fleeting notes away. And that's my question. Did he throw them away, or did he keep them separately? And do you think it's important to keep them? Do you keep them? Because for us, I think it's very special. The fleeting note phase, I think for most of us here, is very, very special.
Yeah, I don't know much about fleeting notes for Luhmann, because I don't think he wasted a lot of his writing. I think he went pretty straight into writing permanent notes. And he also kept his literature notes very short, which means he had a well-developed structure for reading in place. I need the playground of fleeting notes, but I'm wary of keeping them because I like the to shield the permanent notes a little bit from my silly ideas late at night. But I think what I understand and from both system, there's a good way to keep them as a treasure without clogging the system itself.
And then Russell, you want to close this out?
Sure thing, Bo. Thank you. First off, I would like to offer my utmost gratitude to you, Dr. Ahrens, for allowing this democratization of such a system and personally allowing me to rediscover the joy of writing again. Just to give you a background, I recently graduated from MIT, class of 2020, and I have basically been like going through that kind of experience made me realize that like a lot of my friends were going over to graduate school, and I was utterly terrified to continue going into academia because of the fact that I didn't want to write a dissertation, just the fact that finding the ability to put my thoughts into words in 200 pages utterly terrified me. And I'd rather find myself to go and discover more creative pursuits to try to find myself. Upon entering this book club and discovering the system, I found your introduction to be particularly resonant in that you said in the last sentence that every intellectual endeavor starts with a note. And I couldn't help but think that you were both talking about the note-taking system that you were able to put all of your thoughts and atomize it into something that could be referenced later. But my own creative side where you can find the notes in music. I myself am a musician, and it gave me like that glimmer of hope that through this method that I'm able to kind of marry the two sides of myself, the creative and like analytical sides. And within discovering that sort of system, go into my brain and come out of it like my own sense of voice and slowly building that confidence with my own voice, like I was able to kind of rediscover the kinds of writing that I could write when I was like a kid, like writing stories and making sort of connections like crazy. And I could not thank you enough and this community enough for being able to allow me to discover that again. So I'm honestly out of words, but my question to you is, there's a lot of people within this community that find the system to be a great constraint for creativity. I'm a firm believer that constraint breeds creativity, and I want to understand how discovering the system, bringing it out into the world has transformed your view on creativity and in the way that it has transformed your writing process. Has it allowed you to be bolder in the sorts of material that you want to tackle within your work and the kinds of things that it has allowed you to sort of gain the confidence in tackling because of like how simple the system can be in basically untackling any amount of intellectual output that the world has to offer?
Well, first of all, congratulations on graduating at MIT, and thank you for sharing your story. I don't know if working with the system has changed my approach to creative work. I think that it's it stayed too long with me, and it's too much of a part of my everyday life to be able to distinguish what is due to working with the system and what is due to other factors. What I do know, though, is that for me, it's also a tool to deal with anxiety and writer's block, and lowering the threshold of putting thoughts into words, and giving myself the trust that I can pick up a thread later and I don't have to follow through. And so there is an effect, definitely, in terms of how I approach the inner dialogue I have with myself. And so I feel it's in a way comforting to know that whatever I do, I somehow develop something further, and it might turn into something or it might not. But in that way, I can relate to what you said earlier, that it has an effect that I feel for myself might help with the potential that's there and getting it out. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Russ.
Bo, can I just pop in for half a second?
Deb, just give me 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So Dr. Ahrens, you know, I know your time is valuable, and I really hope we imparted the gratitude that we have for you know, the work that you did and the work that you did, you know, taking your love and admiration of Niklas Luhmann and bringing it and sharing it with the world. And so I'm just going to ask everyone to unmute, and can we just, everyone just give him a round of applause? Like, seriously, just thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Ahrens.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor.
I mean,
Thank you.
I really hope that comes through. And and Dr. Ahrens, feel free to stick around. So I do want to make a little transition here. Hi, Matt, Mr. Matt McKinley.
Oh, how you going?
Hey. So, this was fun. I think this was pretty fun,
amazing.
Right?
Yeah. Incredible.
I feel like while we still have people's attention, you know, before they all head out because Dr. Ahrens is gonna leave, I feel like what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about what's RBC 5. What is Rome Book Club 5?
But what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? I don't know. I think I don't know what happened, but
so I mean, I think about
caught wind. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about what this was when we started, and you know, some of the small groups of like 17, 18 people showing up, and then you come in this morning and there's 270 people coming to hear about note taking and the work that you're doing. It's just incredible, and it makes me, you know, think, you know, genuinely what's going on here, what's happening. So
last year they had their son Wilfred 2 months.
I just muted everyone. Can you unmute, Matt? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so when I think about that, I mean, clearly something amazing is happening, and you're doing something incredible. So I think RBC 5 will be clearly an extension of these things, and you're going to be back to host again.
Yes.
And run through how to take smart notes again, and really refine the technique that you've been developing, as well as the community of people that you've been helping.
I think it's going to be summer school. It's going to be like summer school. It's like, you know, get like, you know, I want to get as many people to understand how simple and beautiful this way of working is. And listen, July until August, get ready for the fall semester. COVID is, schools are reopening. And I feel like it's a beautiful opportunity to, again, learn from Dr. Ahrens, learn from the community, and learn Rome a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, you're at the frontier of all of them, right? It's a frontier of like how to use Rome in multiplayer settings. That's really helpful for the team to learn in a context of use and seeing it actually happen in the real world and some of the problems that emerge from the kind of pioneer mindset it takes to be at the frontier doing those types of things, as well as, genuinely rediscovering and recreating like the idea of a book, what is a book? And how is it different historically to what it is today? If you put everyone together, sharing their thoughts and writing their thoughts together, the entire thing becomes different. I think one of my favorite articles is a paper by Stephen Jay Gould called "What If Anything Is a Zebra?" And that's been on my mind lately when I think about book club, because I think what if anything is a book? And if you emerge from the constraints that have historically held a book in place in terms of what it is, new things become possible. And seeing everyone write together and share ideas, it feels as though the concept of a book is fundamentally at play here when we're kind of working in RBC. So I probably expect those things to continue in RBC 5, but more importantly though, we also recognize that we've actually only done 4 books so far, right? And I think Google did a study about 10 years ago, how many books there are in the world, and there was about 130 million. So if you think about it in the context of that, we're like really a small way into it. And I think it's time to kind of push off a bit from here to try and find some new ground. I think the standards and the format is stabilizing. We've done a lot of experimental work over the last 4 book clubs from all of the community, and it feels as though it's getting easier in terms of the ability to do it, to host it, and use it as a mechanism for discovery, both of ideas and of each other in terms of your own ideas. So,
But hold on. Say, like, Rome Book Club means I have to make a video every day, right? Rome Book Club means I need to lead like 4-hour reading rooms and live sessions, right? It means that I need to be a trained professional actor and everything like that, right? It means that
not everyone's a maniac, Bo.
Like how simple is it? It's incredibly simple, right?
No, I mean, I think if you think about it, it can be just a better way to read a book. That's probably what I think. And if you're familiar with the idea of reading books, then a lot of the things have stabilized. How to structure the multiplayer graph, how to work together in terms of like a communication in the graph. So I don't think it's that much of an extension from, just reading a book and working with others. So that's probably, I think it's easy, and obviously we'll be here to help people through it too. But the thing is we're looking for now, I think, is actually the hosts. Like, who are these people going to be? We've got, you and Matt's been very important in the previous ones too, and he'll be here to help in RBC 5 as well. But we're looking for new people, and it's time, I think, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, I really look at it like it's rather like, I feel like what's been going on with How to Take Smart Notes and this huge dojo or this huge sort of large group format is one thing, but I think it's as simple as you and a couple of friends saying, hey, I want to host a Rome Book Club, and having a shared graph, and all you need to do is host a weekly meeting and tend to the shared graph throughout the week. And over the course of 6 weeks, yes, you consume a book, but then you also have a frictionless writing tool to write in, to sort of put your thinking into as you're reading that book. And I think that's what excites me. And I don't know, I've done a little temperature checks, and everyone thinks that it's this large ordeal, but I don't think it is at all. I mean, I think it's rather simple. It's a shared graph. You find a group of friends, you pick a book, and then you reach out to Matt McKinley, and you go, I want to run a book club.
Yeah, I actually put together, I might put it in the chat now, I'll put in a type form for anyone who wants to actually host one. So I've just put it in the chat now. So if you're keen to put, just let me know, and we can kind of set up the admin of it, and we can also set up the limitations in terms of how many people you want to actually work with, etc. So we're still in the discovery phase. We're not entirely sure, as Sonke said, particularly in terms of multiplayer. It's early stages. There are a lot of people around the world starting to explore this, and certainly I feel like we've been very pioneering in RBC particularly, but it's not going to stop. So like there's a chance to continue as well, and this feels like the next bit. So really looking forward to seeing who's keen to do it, and would love to have as many as possible.
And what is the timeline looking like again?
Yeah, I think we're going to run from mid-July. So we're going to take a month off. Bo, you probably won't. You'll probably be with another video on the day after or something like that. But for normal human beings who actually live in the world, we'll take a month off and then we'll start in July. So it'll probably be mid-July by the time we go, and it'll go for 6 weeks.
And then there's going to be like coaching sessions and like workshops to help get people up to speed who do want to lead a book club, correct?
Yeah, it'll be very much supported. One of the great things about it is the community, and that'll be very much the same with the actual people who are running book clubs as well. We'd hope that we've learned a lot. We've got a lot of tacit knowledge in the process as well. So we'll be able to help you through a lot of the processes of that. And administratively, that's how we can help with Rome as well, kind of helping set it up and promoting it to people, etc.
Here's a pointed question. Who's Rome Book Club's competition? Starts with an A.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon.
Yes.
So
I like a formidable antagonist.
Yeah, but I mean, it's early stages, and certainly like it's more about community as well, right? Like it's about unlocking the ideas of a book from just something that's written and transmitted to you, and something you buy and occasionally highlight stuff if you remember, to actually a book coming alive through community and interaction, and writing things as opposed to just reading them, which transforms the ideas on the page.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Thank you, Matt McKinley. The originator, amazing, and letting us do what we do as Rome Book Club leaders. And
I just want to say, Bo, thanks to you particularly. It's been incredible to watch. Your energy is infectious, and just a black swan. I think that was the expression. I very much feel that in terms of both energy, capacity to do things, commitment, and just raw insight. So yeah, very much appreciate it.
I received that. But I want to say one thing. I'm just going to unhighlight you here. I'm going to unspotlight myself as well. We are, by the way, celebrating. This is actually graduation day for Rome Book Club 4. And hi everyone. Hi, you did it. 42 days of intense, arduous mountain climbing up the hill, and then enjoying that plateau and walking back down. And what I want to do, above all else, is I want to celebrate everyone that accomplished that. And even if you're catching up, at least you're on the progress towards that. And I know Matt McKinley is still here. I know Dr. Sonke Ahrens is still here. But really, I want to switch gears and really just focus on us. Okay, it's been an honor and a pleasure to watch how much you all have transformed. And what I want to do is this. Okay, I know we have some people that are joining us that don't know anything about Rome Book Club, and you have others that are alumni. But really, I just want to limit this to people that are graduating today with the Rome Book Club 4 How to Take Smart Notes group. And I just want to open it up to us just talking to each other, and just unmute yourself. I think I need to allow that, actually. Hold on. You can just unmute yourself, and like I said, we are a reflection of our community. So selflessness, yielding when we need to, and let's just, you know, celebrate. And I just want to have, you know, the next 30 minutes just be this time where we can talk about what we learned, talk about what we struggled with, and also, you know, the community that is formed behind that as well. So please.
Okay, Bo. I want to jump in here and thank Dr. Ahrens so much, because it was he doing our couple of one-on-one sessions that he had with me that opened my eyes to the existence of Rome research. So Dr. Ahrens, I don't know if you remember me or not. It's been over a year, but so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And the other part of it is what you've introduced to the world, and what the Rome Book Club for has meant to me. I mean, nobody has said anything about it, but this is an answer to Alzheimer's, or the onset of Alzheimer's. It's the idea of keeping your mind and your brain, your thinking active, so that you don't fall down that chute of inactivity, and you end up losing yourself, you know? So, wow, thank you. I mean, I'm behind, I'm not, you know, but I'm trucking along. I'm trucking along. Perseverance is my middle name. So there it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Good to hear you.
Hey, Bo, I think what adequately describes it is the one lesson you had one day where you said, we started at the bottom and now we're here.
Yeah. How does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel compared to day one?
Man, it feels good. And I know now why you were doing what you were doing to us in the very beginning, right? If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here, right? If it wasn't for the process and having to get there and think differently. And for me, I with certifications and tests, I come from an environment where it's like right answers, right? You get the right answer, you move along. Having to adjust to the fact that there isn't a right answer, right? The right answer comes from you was changing, life changing. So thank you.
Again, if you want to speak, just unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say, yeah, the experiences of opening up, especially, you know, as we started this journey, were revelatory for me to be able to break through essentially which was just a giant writer's block. And I felt like that has allowed me to really start this journey. And some of you know, I had a couple of bumps in the road. I got injured in May 7th, and I was just starting to feel kind of better last week, but then I had to have my surgery, which kind of took me back. So I'm actually feeling good today, and I feel like I'm all ready now to, you know, finish everything. And, you know, I see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm still traveling down that tunnel. So I just wanted to say, you know, those exercises though were the breakthrough for me. I know now the training wheels are off, and I'm still trying to get to my first permanent note, but I'm going to keep doing it. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
More of a question than a statement. I'd love to hear if anybody fancies reading out their day one statements. It's really fascinating going back to reread my day one statements. If anybody likes what they wrote or agrees or disagrees with it.
Yeah, I've read mine. Actually, I've read the whole page of mine completely today, and I'm really satisfied that I topped everything I wrote in my hopes for day one. I mean, the statement we said, you know, how successful am I at day 42, and I couldn't have dreamt of what happened throughout this exercise. So I'm really thankful for the community and for whatever came together, and I'm blown away by how much I learned through the 42 days, and how much I enjoyed spending the time here with all of you in 3 hours up to the night here in Germany. So I'm missing that one, but I'm getting more sleep, I guess. So that's a plus there. But I'll be back for obviously 5. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. But it's really, really great
that I now have a system that is so flexible, and that I'm now thinking about how to adapt to it and even add new stuff to it. So I'm really looking forward to growing with it. So thank you for that.
And thank you, Patrick, too. I mean, you were always there to help answer questions for the community, and you're always showing up for the reading rooms, and it's like that. Those little actions really helped keep everyone buoyant, especially during the hard times. So thank you personally, Patrick. You crushed it.
Thanks.
Hey, folks. I'm not. I will be quickly. I'm Bruno from Brazil. I just want to thank you, everyone. It's been a awesome days with you. I love to participate, and I learned so much with all of you. And I just want to say thank you.
Bravo.
I have my last poem for the Rome Book Club 4, and this is for both halves of the book club. So it's actually this is to and about Matt Rockwell and Bo. So it's both of you guys, and it's called The Magicians. A man of thoughtful passion, a man of passionate thought. Two healers, word mages, shared their lives, bared their souls, and led by their example. A sensitive seer and a fiery prophet, a bard of the beautiful and an expert of expression, a reader of roles and a player of parts. One led us into nature, where we found our true selves and became a community. One led us upwards to the peak of performance, where we each became an oracle, exchanging sacred truths. Together, they took us to the cutting edge, as we all, hand in hand, step boldly into the examined life, the life worth living, growing together, walking witnesses, a caring community, carrying one another toward the life that is yet to come.
Yay.
On the heel of what Joey just shared in his poem, one of my deepest yearning is to be a person of depth, a person of truth, a person of beauty, and passion. So my methodology in the past has been accumulating more and more knowledge, right? After a PhD and everything, just accumulate more and more stuff. And what this book club has done for me personally has been just Bo's ruthless, compassionate coaching about just like going slower and go deeper. And having also the community support of just constant encouragement of, hey, transformations around the corner if you're willing to go deeper. Oh, it's not deep enough, go deeper, right? And it's the to me, it's the path I've been looking for. It seems obvious in hindsight, but I'm just very appreciative of how now I have a way to get to my own truth, my own articulation of what that is, and share it with the world. So thank you all.
My vision is that through the excellence of our work, we all go forward, as somebody mentioned before, I forgot who it was. We all go forward with such high quality work that people say, how the hell did you do that? And then we tell them. Because if you walk up to them and tell them, they don't want to listen. They got to ask. And the only way they're going to ask is if we make them ask for the excellence of our work. So I applaud all of you and really looking forward to some wonderful stuff coming out of us.
I love what George said. It's like, how'd you get in shape? How'd you get swole? I went to the gym and I worked out. No, seriously, what'd you do? I
Yeah,
went to the
right.
gym every day and I ate right. No, tell me, what did you do? I went to the gym every day and I ate right. That's how I got where I'm at. That's
You
what this
got
is
it.
like, right?
They don't believe it. They think it's some kind of magic. It is kind of in a way, but it isn't. It's reproducible magic, you know. I'll tell you, as a magician, it's learnable.
I mean, that's kind of the same that Yvette was saying, right? Like when you read what Sonke wrote, it looks maybe too easy to be applicable.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is that you actually need to do it consistently. It's just like the gym, right? You just need to do it straight on for years.
And you know, I'm glad somebody used the gym analogy, because the really important aspect of the gym to focus on is the cross training, because every mental skill affects every single other mental skill.
Yeah.
It's like you have that weak link, it's going to impact everything else. So you need to work on one and also the other.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think the way I feel about this at the end, so my day one writing was very simple. I hadn't yet grokked the concept of what it was we were doing here and how I was supposed to go through all this. And, you know, the thing I said about 42 days from now is, Mike, you attended all the Sunday sessions. You feel comfortable growing your fledgling Zettelkasten practice from here. You're excited about how this new superpower will help you on your journey into knowledge and wisdom. And I think I missed maybe one of the Sunday sessions or something like that, but like, I mean, nobody bats 1,000, first of all. And second of all, the thing that kind of strikes me about this is this Zen koan, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water.
Yeah.
And after enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. And so it's kind of like before Rome Book Club, read and write. And after Rome Book Club, read and write. And those aren't the same thing. It's not the same thing. But if you look at it from the outside, you may not understand that there's the transformation. It's like, it is like magic. It's like alchemy. Something has happened internally and there's a change. So much like I was saying super early on, you go across, you know, like the circle, and where you end up is basically where you started, but it's not the same place. And I think that that's ultimately how I feel about this journey.
So that's what happens when Mike says something. Well, on that note, I guess it's time to end the book club.
How do you follow Mike? How do you follow that? Jeez.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Josh here. I'll give it a go.
Come on.
All right. Yeah, sorry, I'm still on mobile, so you're probably picking up another mic. But anyway, I walked back in the apartment, walking the dog. So I will, I'll just read you my day one, because I thought about just kind of summarizing it, but I will not. So you'll get the unedited me from 40 some odd days ago. So today is nearly over on this side of the pond, because I'm over here in on the right side of the pond. However, the small action I'm committing to today is carving out time, perhaps an hour, boy was I wrong, each day to learn from and support others. Now, this may be folks who are ahead of me in the learning curve and have found things that I have yet to discover, or behind me searching for something that I may have found. The idea is to look outside my own bubble and find a way to help another person make their journey a little bit better. The added benefit, and perhaps a selfish one in some ways, is that I will also learn and grow during the process. Totally true, by the way. Not the hour part. Not the hour part. And then if I could see myself in 42 days, this was pretty good. It was a quote to myself that said, keep the torch burning, brother. It says, you never know what you're going to find until you finally do. So that brackets It might be square bracket or wiggly bracket or whatever bracket you want to use, because I use a bunch of different ones now. I think I'd fired off a Twitter from inside of Rome today. I was like, what in the hell is going on?
I saw
It's
that.
like, what have I become? Oh my goodness. But yeah, so that's that's it. That's my offering. So I like I say often, every time we sit down, I feel like I've taken far more than I've given. But if I can help out one person in some small little way, then I've met my goals. So thank you all, thank you everybody, whoever's listening. Oh, and a little thing I'll put on here at the very bottom, and I even bolded it because I just learned how to bold at this time. By the way, it says, if you're reading this little bit, comma, smile. It's a great day to be alive. So I'll close on that.
Yeah, that was good. That was so good.
That's so good, Joshua. Thanks. I am resistant to reading what I wrote on the first day, but I will just read it, encouraged by Joshua. Hey man, you keep stepping up and you are learning it doesn't have to be a grind. I gotta tell you, it's such a relief to know you have a system that you trust. You're a creative powerhouse and it's coming from a place of serenity. And I put in a permanent note today that was from myself. It was the first time I wrote one that wasn't from something I read, and that it just felt like a new superpower. Like I'm allowed to make a permanent note and crystallize a thought that comes from myself, and it doesn't have to be perfect at first. I get to expand it, come back, and then it's a thing that fits here with the stuff from the authors, that's special. And I also just wanted to say, while I have the floor here, that first meeting when I saw Bo for the first time, and there was just like so much fire, so much excitement, and I was like, oh, this is what I wanted from Rome. I took some other courses, I was learning this stuff, and it was exciting, but to be in a community of people who are excited and fired up is just that's the life I want to be living. So thanks for that, Bo, and everyone else who's been a part of that, and I'm excited to go forward. So
we do have community, by the way. We do have a community after this too, by the way. I just want to mention relevant notes. I put it in the shared graph. Sign up for that. And then I do plan on, there was donations from RBC3 that we put in a little kitty. And what I want to do is I want to create like a Kajabi site where I'll have like a landing page. It'll have like, again, I don't take any payments. It's just donations only, right? Donations or sponsorships. So I'll have that. It'll also have all videos. And what I'm also thinking is basically with RBC3 alumni, RBC4 alumni, have it where, maybe like twice a week, I'll do like these group coaching sessions or one-on-one coaching sessions for the alumni. And so basically, you can learn from everyone else struggling through whatever they're struggling through, and also have like a central location where people can just have resources where they don't feel like they're alone, hitting critical mass and going through that process. So all of that is in the shared graph. If not, shoot me a DM. I'll send you a link to the type form or the Google form. And let me just say one last thing too. You guys don't know it, but I jumped on the call an hour earlier with Dr. Sonke Ahrens, and I showed him what we're doing. And this is the first update since probably January, since I talked to him. And this is good. This is really good. And all I'm going to say is break the rules. Hi, Andrea. Break the rules. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? Once you learn the rules, break the rules. Do you need a fleeting note? Maybe not. Do you need a reference note? Maybe not. Do you want to add an argument? Maybe not. Do you want to add a hashtag over here? Maybe you don't even need one. All I'm saying is let it form fit to what you need. And I'm convinced that little simple lightweight structure, however you want to mangle with it, however you want to make it form fit to what you need. And what I also realized was that if you have like, who was it? Shauna, is she here? But like what Shauna was going through, where she has like 20 books that she needs to read in the next month, you can. Whatever you want to do it. Like if you want to just highlight it, put it in, add it to your Zettelkasten, do it. And that's all I'm going to say. And you don't have to do any of this alone. And if anything, I would ask that you bring that back to the Relevant Notes group so I can learn it, so I can teach it to people, right? And like I said, like everyone's been saying, we're on the frontier of something here. So last night I was on a call with Andrea Kramer, and she figured out how to do what happens after you hit 1,000 permanent notes. She doesn't have 1,000 permanent notes, but she figured it out. She figured out this is how you do it. Oh, okay, you just make an alias, you block reference that, add it onto a page. And so scalability wise, check. And no one thought of that yet. That was Andrea Kramer first. So like I'm saying, it's just the brilliant minds that are here are going to be the ones that forge that path. And got the thumbs up from Dr. Sonke Ahrens. You're getting the thumbs up from me. Now it's time to go out there and make it form fit to you. But anyways, let's keep going with this. This is awesome. I just love seeing all these faces, and I just love the growth. But yes, we'll continue.
All right. While we're all here taking time to just read our first day kind of pieces, I'd like to read mine as well. So, damn. Wow. Being active in this community has really paid off. Being active with so many people's thoughts and stories has allowed us to make connections we wouldn't have otherwise had. Who knew building bridges could actually be fun after all? So I would really like to take this time to just like give my personal thanks to the people that I have interacted with in this community. And just starting with, you know, where that sense of community really started for me was with the Rum Reading Room. So fun fact, I actually did not attend the first live session, and I had no idea how I would be able to get that entry into this community until I just decided to hop in, being 17th in the reading, but you know, who gave a shit because we didn't even read the book.
Is Dr. Ahrens still here? No, he's not here. He's not here. He's not here. That's good. That's fine.
I distinctly remember. Okay. And I distinctly remember the feelings that I felt that first day, because I was nervous as fuck. Just sharing my thoughts, because I wasn't aware of whatever the hell was going on within the first 5 days, and just catching up with those things. It was really a lot to just dive in, and just everyone was on their A game, and just getting all these references, taking stuff out of the book, and just getting through the materials. Just how the hell do I insert myself into this? And it wasn't until RDC mom Nikki Dix comes in and says, hey, you need to come in and you need to just spread your wings and fly. And oh my God, if it wasn't for this lady right here, fuck. She's
my boy. That's my boy.
Making my mama proud. You know it. Okay. Oh my goodness. And I could just see it just grow from there. Everyone just had so much to bring into the table. Alan, with your constant references, talking Tron, freaking Marvel references. It's crazy the amount of connections this man makes in literature and media. It's crazy. Hats off to him. And let's see who else is here. Mike Newton, I know you came in on the first half of the Rome reading rooms, but I could tell already you were really just you thought a lot about a lot of things. Specifically, I read your articles that you did about Zen tea, and I was just amazed the amount of insight that you had engrossing yourself in that practice. And I'm so excited to see what you're gonna bring with that. Patrick, dude, I didn't know you're an actor. Holy crap. You have I feel you have a really weird life that you hide from us.
Yes, I do. You can see me in women's clothes if you come to Hamburg.
Oh my God.
On stage, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to put a pin on that. Okay, can someone make a reference note for that, please? Thank you. Oh man. And Andrea, when you gave that example about how you wanted to be Hermione growing up, it really gave me that foresight to just talk about stories and things, and just bringing that to the table. And just you know, it's crazy what you're doing in the medical field. Like some of the times, like I'm just in awe of like how much you got going on in there. But I'm so glad that you were able to like be a part of that Rome reading room in that second half. Martina, hello. I got your DMs and thank you so much for sending me that after the what was it, the coaching session that we had. I ended up making like a little like reference note for that, and so you really inspired me with just like the short words that you have. Like it really meant a lot for me in those fleeting moments. Shimon, oh my gosh, Shimon, dude, were you the one who told me that you're like a paratrooper at some point in your life? Was that you? Or like gave that example? Yeah, dude, I can't believe that was the one thing. I'm glad I stuck with that because that like fact is just insane. And the fact that you're also like a no coder, like I feel like we have like a very similar vibes and just like how we're able to, you know, have that sort of field, but then just like also have like this weird crazy shit. I mean, I could just go all day just like listing how everyone here is just so crazy and different. Like I'm excited just to see like who the hell we're gonna bring in next. Like, oh my goodness Christ. Michael Walsh. Mr. Michael Walsh. Bro. Hello. Your voice is so goddamn soft. And, you know, I really want to learn more about like the kinds of stuff that you did as like a lawyer and also like synthesizer band musician. I know your Twitter bio is like looking for a band, so I'm wondering what kind of band you want to form in the future. So like
still looking.
Let's see who else is here. Julie, oh yes, Miss Freyberg. I remember you coming in the first reading room day, and you gave some insight that I think was bleeding in from braiding sweetgrass, and the way that that vibe changed so much, like it also gave me that additional headwind to like really share what was going on in my mind. So thank you for like elevating that room into something that, you know, allowing us to continue weaving into whatever sort of things that we want to cultivate in this community. Let's see. Giacomo, hello, man. I know I haven't really talked to you a lot, but with the like coaching session stuff, like I really got to learn at least a little bit about you. And, you know, now that we're all alumni, I'm excited to like get to know you a little bit better. Let's see who else. Katie, Bronson, power couple, the man and women from Hawaii, hello. Oh man, I'm so excited that I have your husband as part of our RBC tribe with David. We're gonna fuck some shit up, man. Like it's crazy. I'm excited, especially David. Yes, I'm not forgetting you, David. I'm very tempted to like go in and just like be a nomad with you for like 6 months because that sounds hella exciting. And you know, my sister is also like doing the nomadic thing, and so like the more that I get involved with like all of these people, like the more that I would just be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna like go and get a cruiser and just like live off the land. Man, let's see
hey,
who
Russell.
else. What's up?
Sending man, this gratitude bomb you're dropping on all of us is
right?
just amazing. And if I could jump in, you know, I mean, you can just go down the whole list, right? There's just so much gratitude in this group, and I think that's what's running through me now. I'm here in one of my favorite places in the world. Actually, it's a different island that I normally live in. I'm in the Big Island, and I'm with one of my favorite people, actually my favorite person in the world, my wife here, Katie. And I've found also one of the most amazing communities in the world to share this experience, led by the audacious Mr. Bohan. And
let's not forget,
you know, I want to recognize in the spirit of gratitude the people who aren't even in this room, in this Zoom chat. In Hawaii, we have this practice called and I think in other traditions, the empty chair. And that empty chair that is always at the table, that represents our ancestors, that our wisdom has come from, that represents our future generations to come, and that truly in this present moment, we are connected to that past and to that future. And, you know, just within this network family of people, maybe I haven't connected with each of you directly, but indirectly you've influenced someone here that has influenced me, and we're all connected. And one of the things that, you know, this book club has done for me is to help discover why this idea of aloha means so much to me. And a fun fact for all you technology people, did you know that back in almost half a century ago, the 1970s, a technology was developed here in the islands at the University of Hawaii called AlohaNet. And AlohaNet is now the standard protocol that establishes the initial link in all of our Wi-Fi, our satellite, cellular datas. And in many ways, what I shared a few weeks ago about this miracle of technology connecting us, truly it is Aloha that connects. And, you know, I came into this book club really saying that I want to just be in heaven on earth. That's what I wrote, where my wise self can play in boundless creation and joyful celebration of the miracle of life. And isn't this a miracle? I found a old photo of myself when I was just 3 years old playing on a plastic laptop. Little did I know that 30 years later I would be jamming on my MacBook Pro, building a Zettelkasten. But maybe the seeds were planted back then for me to create this heaven on earth. And that's what I desire out of my Zettelkasten, is to allow me to really bring my wise self into the world that has the energy and the thoughts and the consciousness of those thoughts that can heal and that can bring the end of suffering one step at a time, one person at a time, one community at a time. And this tool is enabling that. You know, Bo, you talk about building a critical mass in our personal Zettelkastens, and I'm gonna push to get to that point as fast as I can as the turtle that I am, and patiently going through that process. And, you know, it made me think about, I really feel we're in a inflection point as humanity. We're reaching this exponential because of the convergence of technology and consciousness. And the tools that we're building, you know, will be as good as the consciousness we bring into them. And I was going to ask this to Dr. Ahrens, but I think this is a question for Bo and all of us individually. What is the critical mass that we need to create as a global family in applying the principles of Zettelkasten, such that we create that tipping point, such that the simple idea that was a shipping container can truly transform the world forever. And we're at, I think, that forefront, each of us doing our own thing, and just so proud to be part of this community. It's been transformational, and sending my aloha to all of you. Thank you so much.
Love you guys.
I want to answer that. I think George already answered it though. I think it's, no, you can't tell people. They have to see it. The critical mass is they have to see it. Everyone around us has to see how much we've changed as we see ourselves change. I love you guys. This is,
And we love you, Bo.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Speaking of that, the this whole idea of change is really hitting me pretty hard. I just wanted to point out something that I've been thinking about, and that is I knew about Niklas Luhmann's method. I experimented with it. I had actually read Sonke's book, which I thought was very interesting. I experimented with it, but it wasn't until this book club and the methods that you used, Bo, that it really hit home. Starting right in the beginning with those early lessons about basically being mindful and deciding what you want. Remember, everyone, you remember that question right from the beginning? What is it that you want? Because if you're going to read with intention, you're going to read with those thoughts in mind, because that's the only way you're going to reach a critical mass and take all these permanent notes. Is you're reading with intention based upon what you want. You're looking for answers of the questions that are already within you or already within us. And so I've done all those things, but it wasn't until I got here and Bo, you made it possible, as well as everybody on this call, because it was that combination. It was, and I really think it was that first reading room too, that I just said, I just can't believe this community is doing this. But Bo, honestly, you put this whole thing together and you led it, and I'm going to be forever grateful to you for that. And I'm hoping that you are able to do your move to Texas, and would love to take a peek at your Zettelkasten about screenwriters and screenwriting. I think that is so fascinating. It's not my dream, but it's a fascinating dream. I would love to look at that. So both, thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who's participated. I just loved every minute. I loved every minute so much that I tried to actually sign into the reading room this last Thursday because I must have, I know I heard the announcement that there wasn't going to be one, but I couldn't quite believe it. I really wanted it to happen. So there you are. Thank you.
I tried to as well. Yeah.
I just want to take a moment. I mean, thanks so much, Bo, too, for everything that you've done. I mean, with the group and getting us together and getting Sonke here. And I was thinking about like a geek reference, right? I've made a lot of them. And I think I've got the perfect geek reference for you. So you think of like a movie like The Bourne Identity, right? A lot of stunts. Do you know who the stuntman was? No, you don't. Think of a movie like any rock movie, like Rampage or anything he's done. Do you know who the stuntman was? No, you don't. But without the stuntman behind the scenes, you don't have the action sequences and you don't have the movie, right? And that is essentially what you are. I mean, you've been working behind the scenes to make all of this here possible. And without you behind the scenes and people like Matt behind the scenes doing this, there's no feature film, there's no production. It's a bunch of great actors standing on stage, which you know about, but the explosions and the action, all that stuff doesn't happen. So for you being you, thank you for that.
One last bit of tea wisdom for me, which is that tea is actually a group activity. As when we practice it in the tea room, much like how you can't have the action movie without the stuntman, the host cannot make tea without a guest, and the guest cannot have tea without the host. And the strict rules of comportment that we all follow in the tea room, what it is essentially is it's performance art, and it's a group attempt to bring about something special. And in the parlance of tea, we call it ichigo ichie. That's a once in a lifetime meeting. And this time, this space, the thing that we've been doing here together, virtually and in person on these calls, it's a once in a lifetime meeting. It's been a sustained 6-week once in a lifetime meeting, but that's none of it would have been possible without every single person in here coming in and trying to contribute and give what they had to give. And so some folks have said that they haven't given much, they've only taken. That's not true. The fact that you've been here, the fact that you've done it, the fact you've made it this far, that's your contribution to yourself and to everyone else. So I'd just like to thank everyone for the presence that they've brought to the exercise. This would not have been anything like what it was without every single person being who they are in this space and trying to go on this journey for themselves and for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I want to say something. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, for your every emotional moment, and thank you, everyone. And I want to respond to Bronson and Michael and Aloha. I use this one. Yeah. I hope you can enjoy this. Yeah. Okay. So I want to thank you, everyone. And you are talking about connection. Yeah. I think if you look at yourself as a block in raw, you are connecting just like the blocks. Yeah, I feel I'm built inside raw and connecting with your guys. I'm so grateful to share with you and Nikki, Alan, and everyone else. And I also thank myself. I want, just like Mike, you told, can enjoy the tea with guests and a host, but sometimes you can enjoy the tea all by yourself. Yeah, right. I'm not a master of tea, but I enjoy drinking teas. So I enjoy discussing with you, but sometimes when I reflect, I enjoy the minutes I'm sitting here writing and sharing my memories with maybe no one. Even we shut down the share graph, when you build your own Zettelkasten, you can still feel and still feel that feeling. You talk to yourself. And I remember last time the group session, Alan says how to stop the fleeting notes. To be honest, I don't know when to stop. But Alan tells that when you feel good, you stop. Leave some taste like the tea, leave some taste or the fragment with you. That's one thing I think I live right now. When I look back my fleeting notes, I feel that flavor or the taste of your thoughts. And when you go back, you can pick up the thread. That's a great thing. And I want to thank Bo, the director, to connecting all us blocks. And let me see one thing. The last, it helps me to refine myself truly about reading and writing, especially writing. I once organized some small reading clubs. We talk about what to read and how about a writer writes what kind of thing, kind of analytic, very academic writing. But here with the fleeting notes, you start to think about yourself and present yourself. I think that's one most important thing I've learned in this room club. You are talking with your own feelings. You are allowed to share your emotions, Mike. That's great for you. Yeah. It's forbidden kind of in my culture to share your feelings. Yeah, but now I'm so open here. I feel safe here. Thank you, Bo, for this environment and everyone. Yeah, I almost cried. Sorry. yeah, I want to thank you all. That's all. Yeah, for sharing all those thoughts and feelings. Thank you.
Hey, Bo.
I want to jump.
Oh, I'll say this real quick. When you
Go
write
ahead,
your
Alan.
great
Go
screenplay
ahead.
and it gets sold, can you put Yaxing in it as a character for me, please? Can you write him into the script?
I think he gave us a
Why?
glimmer,
Why?
by
No,
the
no,
way.
no.
No, he gave us a glimmer of something too. As a Korean American growing up, it's like
Yeah.
no, we don't talk about any of this, and I feel like this could also be that cultural bridge to so many different nationalities and cultures. But yeah, I think there was a glimmer of what you were saying that just really resonated with me.
Yeah, sometimes I'm not native speaker, so I kind of step up to speak something. Thank you for tolerates my not so good English. Thank you all.
We understand. We understand what you're saying underneath.
Thank you.
I wanted to jump in, show my gratitude a little bit. I never imagined that on the internet, 2.5 hours into a Zoom call with 79 people, would have this feeling. My heart's beating. Like I've been in many conscious circles in person, felt connection, felt this feeling, and never did I imagine that somewhere in the corner of the internet, I'll get to feel that. And so thank you for that. And yeah, and I just, one other thing I'm thinking is that I really was glad that Sonke said that it was a tool to deal with anxiety. And then he went on to say, like, and writer's block and putting thoughts into words and etc. But like, it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Like a lot of, I'm not an academic, and I'm not sure. I'm not conducting a research right now, or coming up with my own theory of things. But I definitely, developing stronger mental capacity and body of knowledge, and hopefully harnessing that. And I've greatly benefited from this being a shared experience rather than a personal one. Learned from each and every one of you, like in this screen that I'm seeing, like so much breadth and wealth of knowledge and of culture and of experiences and of everything. And yeah, I would love to see each and every one of you in a room, in a Zoom room or in a real room, one point or the other. All my gratitude.
Hi, let me just jump in. I just want to send a warm hug for everybody in this community. I know this is a time we don't do that so much as we used to, but a warm hug is, for me as a Brazilian, is one of the best ways to show appreciation, to show love. And I just wanted to say thank you for everybody, for Bo and everyone in this community. And I hope to grow in this community much more than I have grown so far. And I just feel, I still feel like I'm just a tiny portion of it, and I want to share more and talk to you guys every day more, and I have to grow so much to get there, but I think I'm still in the way, and I hope to participate even more in this new community we are forming, and I want to see you there. And that's it. Warm hug for everyone. Thank you.
Warm hug back. And just like post midnight ramblings of somebody who has been awake since 4:30 this morning for my one-to-one coaching session. So sorry if I'm struggling to find the right words, but just big massive thank you to everybody on here, and especially for Bo for teaching us the rules that I advise now everybody to, as soon as they know the rules, break them. And yeah, and so this is one thing, like break them as soon as you understand them, you know why you're doing them, and you find something new, try it out, and then ask Bo if it's working, and then you have to prove it, and if it works, then it's going to work. I'm pretty sure. But
you have to spend an hour and a half getting me to give you the green light. We were doing our best to get underneath it, but I think it's unbreakable. I already know you figured out after 1,000 permanent notes. I know you figured that out. But the other part,
yeah,
I just need you to prove it.
Yes, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to. And so, but
hey,
like,
Andrea, are you going to put that in the shared graph so that we can benefit from that? I'm really interested in that question.
Yes, totally. But first, let me experiment a little bit with it. And as soon as I know it works, I'm willing to share it. Okay, 100%. Because
it'll be faster if everybody shares it.
You mean like everybody is trying to do the same mistake at the same time? Yeah, same mistake at the same time. I don't know if we have to do that. We have to ask Bo if it's okay.
Yeah, but I think all of us we do different experiments, and after whatever 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, you can share the experiments, and you have some brilliant experience. Michael gets some. I get some, and then we can share it. I think that's totally. That's really exciting.
Just improve it all. And like what I think is like the craziest thing, all of it, is that like within 6 weeks, I think everybody who really did the work and who really participated was able to get something out of it. Whether it was like somebody like George, like knowing how, like perhaps now how to better further his academic research, or I am doing academic research as well. Or like, for example, just Shimon said, he's not into academia, but he's into like discovering himself. So I really think like within the 6 weeks, we were all able to gain something from that. And the amount that was like done within the 6 weeks within this group, I think it's just mind-boggling. Because usually if you have like, I am used to do like group work, there's like a German funny like way to say, okay, group work, it's always one person doing the work and everybody else is just like taking off of that one person working. And this is completely the complete opposite. It's like you are working, but everybody else is working. And so you can gain so much more as someone who's working as well. So it's really, I'm so thankful for all of you, really. So post midnight ramblings off.
I also want to thank all of you, and the thing that stood out to me was reading what crazy shit you people have been writing in your pages, and made me cry sometimes, made me think, made me connect to you, even if we haven't spoken. I feel like I know you, and that is incredible. And to those that I have spoken to, and the European Reading Room, shout out to you guys. It's amazing. The community is fantastic. So, and I'm not going to even try to come up with any golden metaphors. You've all been fantastic, and I would just not live up to it, but it has been it has been a once in a lifetime experience. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I'll jump in there after Andrea's late night ramblings and JC's summary. And well, all of you have said everything I want to say, apart from the fact that, like, I feel like you've all like been like, oh yeah, Nikki's the mama of the group, but I don't know anything. Like, you guys are the cleverest people I know and will probably ever meet. Yeah, and you've welcomed this dumb, like, just like, I don't write, I don't read a book, I don't do like computer stuff, and you've just like welcomed me in and embraced me, and I've learned so much about all of you guys, and I'm really excited and curious about this, and I've learned that I'm not going to allow myself to speak the lie that I can't write, because the first two words are everybody writes, and it's like, I'm not going to believe that lie over myself, and that's all that I see you guys doing. You're not believing the lies over the things that you said, and the culture that puts us into the box and says we can't show our feelings and stuff. I'm like, no, let's get rid of that. So thank you for doing that. And out of that, hey, not only have I figured out all that, but I am going to go back to university and actually do some writing, and I want to do it in public. I don't know how to yet, but I want to do a master's and do a shared a Roam garden, or a digital garden, to publicly show my learning, to get it out there, because it's always behind closed doors for people who've got money, and I think that's wrong. And you use the analogy about you go to the gym and you get work, and my passion is about helping people who feel rubbish in the world feel better about themselves. And I want to see if I can flip, instead of like the way that we see our identity as, oh, we're not good enough, or we're not clever enough, or we're not thin enough, or we're not pretty or clever, how we can flip that. And I think I don't know where this is going to go, but so thank you for welcoming a mama.
Thank you for being here. So good.
You know what I'm thinking? By the way, you guys are freaking amazing. You guys are freaking amazing. I'm looking at I see my emails. I say we meet next week. Same time, same place. I'll post a link in the shared graph. I need to figure out what I'm gonna take a couple of days off. I'm just gonna not talk to anybody. But I have a meeting with the RBC3 alumni on Friday, and we're sort of figuring out how we're gonna make this all happen. And again, I think it's very important that it's not just, this isn't just the end, it's actually the beginning of something here. And I think the community that you all have built amongst, all I did was help facilitate it. I feel like that is something that has to be fostered. And through the donations and through the sponsorships, I want to have that place where you can go, where I don't want just everything in a shared graph. Like, the conversations and stuff can happen in the shared graph, but I think some of the media and stuff, so you can consume the information that you all are feeding each other in regards to, okay, here's Andrea Kramer's idea. Okay, awesome. Here's a 2-hour video of me and Andrea talking about it. You know what I mean? Or whatever that looks like. And it's like, you can watch that at any time on your mobile, on your whatever it looks like. And I just need time to get that built up. Again, I didn't expect any of this, so it's like, give me a little bit of time to get that built up. But I think in the meantime, just to sort of keep everyone grounded, and to not sort of fall off the wayside here, I'll post a link in the shared graph, I suppose, or you can DM me, but I'll post it in the shared graph for sure for next Sunday, same time, same place. And we'll just have a discussion of what it looks like to sort of transition from post Rome Book Club into, okay, I need you. Is there any RBC3 alumni here? Okay, I see Carol. I need you guys to like get along. Like, RBC3 is super tight. RBC4, you all are super tight. But I feel like we need to put that together, because several people have already hit critical mass in RBC3. But I taught RBC4 better. So there's like, so it's like, it's all here. Everyone is starting on the equal footing, and I want to make sure that everyone feels that way and that everyone gets along. So I need to sort of figure out how to make those two groups coalesce, if they're supposed to coalesce. Maybe they need to be separate. I don't know. But I need a little bit of time, and all I've been thinking about up to this point is, holy crap, we've got Sonke coming in. Let's crush it. And I feel like it went off without a hitch, right? I felt like it was super powerful. I felt like we asked him questions that no one else really asks him. You know, if you look at every other interview that he does, it's like, how do you do it? 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 It's like, no, I want to know why. I didn't know he was enamored by Lumen. I had no idea. And so anyways, I just want to, so let's just do that for now as the next sort of like action to take. So next week, Sunday, same time, same place. I'll record the whole meeting as well, but at least just, let's just come with the idea of, you know, what we're doing now is how to build out the community. And I'm always open for different ideas, but I feel like Kajabi is going to be the best way to do it because it has everything, email, you know, a blog and videos that you can host on there. So all that being said, I don't, you know, this is your graduation day. I don't want to cut it short, you know, but I've been on the call for 4 hours now because I started an hour early, but I don't mind keeping it going. If you all want to keep it going, go ahead.
I just is the shared graph going to still be available and we continue to work on
Yes.
that? Okay.
Forever.
Okay.
It just takes forever to load. And I know that's a problem. I know for RBC5, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have two different graphs. So basically up to day 32, it's going to be one graph. That's all the work that everyone's doing and like the inner work. And then day 32 on, when you're building the shared Zettelkasten, I'll have a whole nother graph. That's my idea, at least. And then we do have go ahead.
If we signed up for RBC5, because I'm trying to catch up, but I feel like I missed the last few weeks. So I'm trying to plug myself back in.
I think it's fun. I mean,
Okay.
Carol did it.
Yeah.
Carol hit critical mass. Andy Henson did the work. You know what I mean? By the way, can I give a shout out to Andy Henson? Hi, Andy. Let me just highlight you real quick. Spotlight. Oh, what happened to it? Did I spotlight it?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Well, okay, I missed it. There we go.
There
Hey, Andy. So let me just hold on.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so let me give them a little background of how this all happened. I think this is important, right? It's basically after RBC2, me and Andy Henson started talking, and it was crazy because I was jumping on. I was doing these coaching sessions, and then I would jump on calls with Andy, and we were literally structuring out like this plan, and it was. You know, I know that whatever this is, the seed was planted by our conversations. So seriously, thank you so much, man.
Well, I think I feel I have to thank you way more because when I was trying to remember when we first chatted. I think it was back in August when you showed me the structure, and that was immediately that I saw that. It's like it is that simple, lightweight structure, because when you know it, that's why you know you can break the rules, when you know how these things just get layered up. But
you coined that term, if I'm not mistaken. He's the one that coined the term bootstrapping, simple, lightweight structure and flywheel.
But it just is, because I mean, that's the power of the blocks in Rome. You kind of, it's backwards because you're stacking them on top of each other, but you're doing it forwards at the same time. But I really enjoyed this go round. Like, I kind of wanted to do RBC3 as well, but the community is what makes this, like, doing it on your own is not the same thing. Doing it together is just a completely different level.
Yeah.
And I think I've really enjoyed this one because obviously I was doing the work anyway. It's that idea of deliberate practice in one sense, but also because I kind of wanted to see what you did with what we were doing. And I think you have totally nailed it with this one. And the group here kind of proves it. It's like, as I was doing the exercise, I was like, I know where this one's going, and that, and I know, and everyone's light bulbs and mind-blowing
things. But yeah, it's perfect.
Thank you, by the way, Andy. Seriously, thank you. Like you were
you.
my accountability partner for critical mass. You know?
Can I throw out one other thing? I've just committed to the Ship 30 for 30 program, where I'm going to write 30 essays in 30 days and publish them on Twitter and Medium, at least. I'm scared to death of it, but it's really like the ultimate test of taking the stuff I've been doing here, and now I'm committed to putting it out there. I have no idea how I'm going to do it, especially with 4 grandchildren visiting me in July, but I'm going to go for it. And I invite anybody else who'd like to join me and suffer through it with me. It's going to be a trip and quite a test.
Just open discussion. Anyone wants to jump in?
If I can squeeze in one fleeting note of mine that I'm having. Well, you guys all already know I've always shared every time I've spoken how appreciative I am of all of you guys and how amazing I think you guys are and how much I appreciate Bo and everything we're doing here. The fleeting note that I'd like to share with you guys, riffing off of Alan's geekiness, thank you. I'm right there with you always. For me, I guess one of my favorite, maybe the best Disney movie to me is Aladdin. And I thought about our journey here as like Aladdin's hero's journey. So, you know, first Bronson told me about this book called How to Write Smart Notes. And I was like, this is kind of cool. It feels kind of nice. The cover is really pretty. So I opened it, started reading. I was like, oh, this is really good stuff. So basically, I didn't even know I needed a system. I wasn't doing research. I was, you know, I'm just doing my work every day. But this was starting to open my eyes to, oh, wow, this is something amazing. So this is like, oh, that diamond that he was supposed to go find in the tigers, you know, in the cave of wonders, was told by someone like, hey, this is something that's cool, you know. So all right, I went down and pursued this diamond in the cave of wonders, but I got to it and Sonke said it was simple, but I didn't feel like it was. And then I got a magic lamp and out came the genie, and the genie is Bo, and he's like, you ain't never had a friend like me. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And then all this magic starts happening. And then we get out of the cave of wonders and we go on all these adventures and we start picking up new friends along the way. Jasmine, the tiger, the carpet, you know, everyone building a community. And then after all these barriers and, you know, obstacles and almost drowning and all of these things, coming out the other side, recognizing that, oh, I don't have to dress up like a prince. I don't need Bo to tell me how to do this. Like, it's all been in me all along. And, you know, at the very end, of course, happy endings, Disney movie, gets to marry Jasmine, gets to have the world, but at the same time, he becomes next in line to be Sultan, which means more responsibility, more power, more authority, but also being that diamond in the rough, recognizing and owning that we are a diamond in the rough, now with this power and responsibility to bring it to the world and make the world a better place. So that's kind of how I'm seeing this whole journey with RBC with you guys. We are diamonds in the rough, and now we've grown to sultans, and we can go share with the world.
Every guy here is so jealous of Bronson.
I just want to point out, Joey said in the note that in the chat that sounds more like a permanent note than a fleeting note to us.
Yes. Yes.
Break the rules. Break the rules.
I just want to share the literature note I'm working on. I'm actually just going to put it in the chat because it's still a work in progress, but I think it relates pretty heavily to the experience I've had here, which is, I think the learning here has been based on relationships. And I know when I first started this, I started reading what everyone else was writing, and that was building a relationship. When I was trying to take a course or trying to read Sonke's book and try to do it independently in the graph, that was very transactional. I was like, I'm going to read this, I'm going to get something out of it, and here's, a transaction. And this, actual idea that, you approach life through relationships versus transactions is a huge thing that I just think I've experienced in this course, and I'm actually experiencing in lots of other parts of my life. I think we're in such a, box system that pushes us towards transactions. That's what the whole system wants us to do, is transactions. But I think we're learning about relationships, and this course has been incredible that way. And now I look back at it, everything that I do that's meaningful in my life is based on relationships. The transactions are just things that happen, but they're not the meaning. Anyway, I'm still working through that note.
Well, now I'll share something just real quick that came out of my session with Bo, which was, I was doing my fleeting notes, right? And I was getting into that process of doing the fleeting notes, but I noticed that I was struggling when I wasn't sitting down trying to write, right? When I was struggling when I would come back and try and process those fleeting notes, and Bo in our session, he helped me get to the point where it really needs to be a part of my life, right? This idea of discovery, this idea of fostering when something's interesting. Normally, before I talk to Bo, I might be walking the dog and I'd see a crane and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Wonder what it's like to be a crane operator. And then I would just keep walking, right? But now it's like, okay, let me grab my phone. Let me grab Otter AI. I just had this idea. What's it like to be a crane operator? What do you do? Where do they sit? How does the whole thing work? And I think by doing more of that kind of self-discovery, exploration in my own life about those little things that you look at that jump out at you or that jump out at me that maybe I dismissed before, by doing that, it makes it so much easier now when I have to go to the writing to start processing it. Because Bo made a great point. It's like you're having a conversation partner with your subconscious, right? And the more you encourage that conversation, the easier it is to find things that resonate with you. And that was a huge aha that came out of our one-on-one. Wasn't even thinking like that before.
Dude, I didn't say that. You just said that, bro. I ain't that smart. That was awesome. That hit me.
You helped draw it out, though. You helped me get to the point of why I was struggling. Because what Bo doesn't tell you is that I was blaming why I wasn't as creative as I wanted to be, because I'm like, well, I'm a person who deals in ones and zeros, right? It's either on or it's off. I said that about myself, but that was never it. That was me making an excuse for the fact that I wasn't fostering that skill. And now that I'm doing it more, I see the excuse that I made was meaningless. That's never what it was about.
Alan has just become a quantum computer.
I wish.
It's more like he gained consciousness as a computer, talking to himself in real life.
Did he just become Jarvis?
Jarvis, yes.
Yes, Jarvis.
I'm alive.
Or Vision. I forgot to add one last piece to my, I guess what you guys are calling my permanent note. At the very end, Aladdin sets Genie free. And even though I don't want to set Bo free, and I don't want to let go of you guys as a community, it's the right thing to do so that we can all move forward free and do our best work.
Yep.
How about people that we haven't heard from? People that haven't said anything yet.
Okay, I'll go this time.
Hey, Tina.
There we go.
No.
I want to thank you guys Last week I was locked out from the club because my laptop wasn't working, and I was supposed to write a permanent note, and I wasn't able to. I felt so lost because what I realized that it was about the community and this aspect of people helping each other, and it was not the same. So I have to say that I would have never ever built my Zettelkasten without you and you contributing to this community. And it was a learning experience as well, because when I saw some of your fleeting notes, some of your literature notes or permanent notes, I realized that I've been in those situations as well. And it is so nice not to feel alone anymore and to have a conversation partner when I need to. So it was a very, very beautiful journey, and yeah, it was very nice to meet you guys. And I also hope that in the future, some of you guys will attend the reading rooms and we can discuss different ideas, because I feel like that reading books by myself is boring right now. And it's so much better when I hear different perspectives and I'm no longer in the bubble. So that's nice.
Can I just briefly sort of add to that? I hope Bo won't mind me saying this, but I relatively recently listened to his Rome FM podcast episode, and I think if you have listened to it, you've possibly just touched Bo's heart there quite a bit in terms of the idea of being not alone. And I would thoroughly recommend anyone that hasn't read it, listened to it yet, to go and listen to it, because he is here for I came here to learn to be a better academic. He is here for much more important and deep and fundamental reasons. And so thank you, Bo. And I just wanted to put that out there. If people wanted to learn a bit more about Bo's background and why he's here, I think that's a really important thing to listen to. So.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just add one more thing then to finish? Book club, really?
Isn't there a better name now? No, I think actually that was the brilliance, because I came in and I laughed when Joshua mentioned it. I came in and said, it's 15-30 minutes a day, and you really lured us into that trap where I was really spending hours and willingly came here, looking at the chat, waiting for someone to drop something new, because I really enjoyed that one. I mean, I was really glued to that chat room and then to the writing exercises, and it was such an awesome experience. But had I known that before, without knowing you guys, I mean, I think that would be insane. I mean, if he mentioned that you will spend something around 2-3 hours a day for that book club, I mean, get away from me, get away from me.
Well, Bo is an ethical con man.
Yeah, it's really ethical conning. That's right. That's what he did.
Hey,
and with 3 hours. Oh.
I'm sorry.
You go.
Anybody could drop out whenever they wanted. Exactly. I felt that it was not exactly what I had anticipated, but I also felt that it was so much more than I had expected. So, someone else who didn't feel that way, okay, maybe they'll be in RBC 5.
Yeah,
I think there's something to that, the ethical con man, and we came in and there was so much generosity about it that it was attractive. And I was inspired by that when I reached out to Bronson and to Russell to say, hey, you guys are part of my group now. And there was an assumption in it. But because it's so generous,
I felt like I was allowed to do it. And yeah, they could say, no, thank you. But because I took that step, inspired by Bo, really, so good things happen. And I think that's going to be a really exciting part of how I live my life going forward, to make those generous assumptions and enroll people.
Mhm.
I'll say it again, Bo. He's laundering knowledge through a book club. That's what it is. He's using the book club for this front, right, to make us all better people.
Street smarts, baby. Street smarts, you know?
He's laundering love.
Okay. I love you all. Congratulations. I think it's just the beginning. I say we you know, I want to leave it where I want to leave it where we want more. And because that's the idea. It's always learning. I love how Sonke's put it. He's like, "No, I'm always learning." And when I was on the hour call with him, he was open-minded. And I feel like that's what I admire in people. And I'm so proud of, I mean, each and every one of you here. And yeah, I just feel like, I think it's about, not gonna cry, stop it. You know, it's about taking this and actually living life, though. And I feel like you all are charged to do that. And you just never know who you're gonna help. Because maybe I can't help my best friend, but maybe you can. But I'm not gonna know. So, thank you all. Thank yourself. And yeah, honey on the tongue, you did it. You're awesome. Let's meet back here next week and let's build. It's time to build. Build, 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 build. People need to see this. People need to see this. I love you all. Just unmute yourself. Let's just give everyone a round of applause. Just, you all are amazing. And just bravo, bravo.
Thanks so much, Bo.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank yourself. Thank your community. You know, and I'm gonna upload this to YouTube, and just pay attention to the shared graph. Shoot me a DM, whatever you need. Just give me about 3 or 4 days. I just want to not see anyone for 3 days so I can just process this and receive this. So thank you again. I love you all. Bye.
Bye.
I'll see you in the guided writing exercise. I'll see you in the guided writing exercise. Where's
Looking forward to it.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye.